minute late. All right.
So we got the energy up, so we're good.
Perfect. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Pradeep from Armwrestling News, and today we have our guest, Mr. Paul Lin, who is going to elaborate on some training methods that we are going to discuss today. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Fat and happy. Fat and happy, eating all the carbs. No worry about cutting weight right now. So I'm good.
So this training, arm wrestling training thought, it has always been in my mind. Like whenever I got into this sport, started watching it, and then I started hearing it from the elites of arm wrestling. It kind of always bothered me. One thing that I expect if I go to a athletics coach, if I go to a football coach, if I go to a basketball coach, I expect him I would not expect different training methods or different completely different training programs from everyone. There has to be some exercises that are common, some training methods that are common. But when it comes to arm wrestling, everyone is like, even the elites have always been like, well, you may have to figure it out yourself what works for you. So this kind of worried me, that is the arm wrestling training even developed enough to a stage, which takes us to some points where I think Artem was once mentioning that arm wrestling is still in a stage where the guys who have trained, who have won something at nationals, if they are not careful, if they go up against some bodybuilders and stuff, they can still probably lose if they get in a bad spot. And in no other sport, it never happens. It never happens. Like if you even if you take a women's Olympic level power lifter, let's say in a weight category, 55 kg, there is almost 0% chance that a local guy, strong guy in a gym who weighs equal to her at 55 kilos is going to outlift her in those Olympic lifts. But it can sometimes happen in arm wrestling. So, what are your thoughts about arm wrestling training? Like, is it developed? Where would you like it to be?
My head is going 100 miles an hour right now because you just tapped into like the worst thing to ever talk to me about, because this could be 4 hours, just because of my background. Um, so you're going to have to guide this because I'm going to be all over the place
Yeah.
most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing you said is arm wrestling, unlike other sports, doesn't have like a standard regime that can be reproducible and followable. And you're right, uh, in a sense. So I think if we really drilled down and we looked at like fitness in general and like core lifts and like main lifts. So if you're just saying, all right, strength that is applicable to like any sports, right? You would look at the core lifts. You'd see bench, squat, power clean, deadlift, those movements, shoulder press, whatever, the big movements that you want to put in. I think for arm wrestling, those movements are pseudo established as well. They just might not be like super like populated out to the world to know. Wrist flexion has to be like wrist. In my mind, wrist flexion is bench press. Back pressure is like squat. You know what I mean? Pronation, power clean. Supination, deadlift. And then you get into the more finite things like rising and sitting. Like to me, those are the core lifts, right? So like we need to have these things, and then depending on your style, you need to have more effort into one rather than the other. It's like being in a different sport. Like if you're depending on what you're doing, you might need more lower body strength. So I think we can look at it from a general perspective. Now, as far as the detailed programming, that is where it gets hairy. So you can look at Todd Hutchings is a great example. West Side Barbell. He takes West Side Barbell powerlifting programming and applies it to arm wrestling, has immense success with side pressure and everything that he does. That's a perfect example. A lot of people don't have the discipline or the programming knowledge to be able to apply that to their arm wrestling training. There are so many other ways to do it. Then you can also talk about the person. Like, how do you do it? Me, I don't like to write things down. I don't like to be a slave to that. I enjoy the gym. I can track things in my head and I can do it kind of on the fly. I have an idea when I go in there. Should I program more? Probably. Now, when you look at arm wrestling training, like if you were to hire a strength coach for your specific sport, you can hire a strength coach from any number of schools of thought. And fitness is the most like it is ever changing and it is very fad driven. So we'll see things that the fitness world will evolve. Tools, implements, things that like gadgets, like you can remember all like the ab things we had back in the day. You think back like even the 70s, 80s, people were bending springs, whatever's cool in the moment, right? but it has to progress because people think they're getting stale and they need something new. Right now, we're dealing with Peloton bikes and whatever else. CrossFit's huge right now. It's becoming its own portion of fitness, but it's ever evolving. And I think arm wrestling training has never had the base starting point of like, here is what you need to do, that was socialized out to the world. And now we have tool manufacturers too. Like if you dig into that, I love Lucas Raymond. This is my guy. He is unbelievable. He makes everything under the sun and he keeps up with whatever is new and sought after. But a majority of those tools, like when people say, who do you recommend for a tool manufacturer? I say, Arm Assassin Strength Shot. What tools do you recommend? I only say 10%. The ones that I truly believe in that are the equivalent to the core lift of what you need for arm wrestling. There's a lot of other cool stuff. And I have all of it. I bought all of it. If you saw my gym, you'd be like, why do you have all this crap? You know what I mean? And I don't use it. I only use a small set because I've gone through the battery of trial and error. And that ties back to what you were saying. It's tricky because most of these elites will say to you, you got to figure it out yourself. And that's really it. I did it. I've spent, I don't know, thousands of dollars on tools, I did reviews. I did all, this is the basis of my channel and all of my social media coming up in arm wrestling is arm wrestling training and my trial and error process. So one last thing, tying it back to my actual, like what I do, which is I am a high school football coach and I run a strength program. My choice from my perspective, maybe being a little old school, is to focus on what we exactly started with in this conversation, which is the core lifts. Because to me, those are the things that will have the biggest effect. So if I have 65 kids that, 10% of those guys are good, 40% are average, the remaining 50 are below average. I need to get 22 kids that can play above average. If I focus on those core lifts, focus on the strengthening aspect of those core lifts, as well as the coordination aspect, and then the mental piece that comes along with being strong in those angles and those vectors and the gaining weight along with it, that is my best chance, in my opinion, to take 60 kids of all different backgrounds and ability levels and make a team that is the most formidable. So that's my approach. I stay away from the gimmicks. I apply them in here and there, just kind of smoke and mirrors to make them think that they're doing new spicy stuff. So sorry for the monologue, but you triggered me there.
So guys, before we proceed this conversation further, few important things. Paul Lynn's channel is tagged in the title of this video and also pinned in the chat by Lagia. So please subscribe to Paul Lynn. We need to up the subs game for Paul. Very important.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But like what we were talking about right there, if you're interested in any training stuff and you dig back through all my old videos, that's really where the value is in my channel. Yeah. Other than that, it's all rambling and nonsense, but there are some decent like beginner arm wrestler. Like there's like a series I did for beginner arm wrestlers and some training stuff that is probably of value to new arm wrestlers. That's my only plug for myself.
Right. For about next 20 minutes, we are going to talk about training, and then the next 10-15 minutes after that, we are going to talk about Monster Factory events. And with that being said, Pavlo Derbediev is in the chat, and he's saying hello to Paul and also to me, maybe. And
Pablo, take it easy on me, man. I'm a little guy. Take it
easy. Fenry S wants you to shave your beard, and Pavlo wants you to grow it big and thick.
Pablo, this is all I can do, man. This is it. It's right here only. I like it's baby face. It's terrible. And if I cut this off, my wife, we won't be married anymore. So
I started shaving when I was probably 15 years old.
Like I used to be jealous of the old line beards back in the day, but I had the chin strap and line beards and everything. And then now that I have to shave a little bit, like every couple of days, I don't need that hassle.
I think I shaved yesterday, maybe 2 days, and it's already. Adam Hasty is saying, hey there, Pradeep. Good day, Paul. Great combination. A great reporter and presenter. And a great heap of knowledge and experience. So I'm the reporter and you're the knowledge guy.
I'm just here for color. I'm just here for color commentary.
Yeah. So, Paul, the important point about this training method is because I wanted to discuss the Denis Cyplenkov training thing, and
Okay.
we'll go through a few details in that I didn't mention in my previous video. So I watched a trend in Denis Cyplenkov's training. I'm not sure if he used to do that before that as well, before his like recent comeback, before his 2018 times, but he has now started almost, I would say, bullying everyone on the table. Like whenever you see Denis Siplankov, he always starts here, like most of the times he starts in a situation where probably even Levan cannot get him out of. This is how Denis Siplankov starts his training, his practice pulls. What do you think is the reason for that? In that video I said that maybe the reason for that could be because in today's world, super match professional world, you can, if you're talented enough, if you know the setup manipulation enough, you can get away with almost as much as you want. We have seen that. I thought this was the reason, but then many people told me that I have no idea, no clue what I'm talking about. This is why I wanted to have another discussion on this topic with an expert, and
So
that's where your opinion is required.
you released that video?
Yeah, yeah, the video that I
Okay.
just sent to you.
I know. I didn't know if you released it. Like I looked at the channel, it said like a what?
No, it has
So
like 25,
okay.
30,000 views.
Okay, perfect. So what was the response? Fill me in because I did not see that one until you sent
So
it to me.
there are many comments who were saying
Yeah.
like, yes, this is exactly what I was commenting, and people were crying at me. People tried to bully me in the comments. Everyone was hating me. I got dozens of comments like that. I have been saying the same thing for some time now, and people always backfire. Denis Siplankov fans always backfire at me. I've seen this same trend that Dennis always starts with a cupped wrist. And there are lots and lots of people commenting that, yes, Pradeep, this is exactly what I was also thinking. And there are some comments who are saying that Pradeep is saying this because he has never trained himself.
Okay. So for everybody in the chat right now, recap your perspective on it, and then I'll like reverse
Yeah, yeah.
engineer it.
Just tell us in the chat that why does Dennis do you think, first of all, do you think Dennis starts in an advantageous position like he did against even Khalid Jashel? I thought, man, let Khalid do something, start with a flat wrist, but Dennis got him already like here, like now try to
Yeah.
roll out. How is he going to roll out of that? Like
Right.
that monstrous wrist.
But why? Why do you like? So I think you were saying in the video that you think that because um, most super match settings don't use strict WAF rules, that he is practicing his setups.
And my main reason for saying that was, if you are the strongest guy wherever you are training, which Denis Siplankov clearly is, which like Devon Laird clearly is,
Mhm.
then you always have to practice on the defensive, giving your
Yeah.
opponents everything you have, and that can kind of change your mindset to being defensive puller. Even during super
100%.
matches, you may not have that aggressiveness. So maybe my thought was that he was training for that aggressiveness. You may be weaker than me, but I'm still going first, I'm still going strong, and I'm not going to give you anything in the setup.
So I don't think he's doing that. I'm actually really confident that he is not training for the setup. I think when you get to a certain point, you figure most things out in the setup. Like Devin is a great example. Devin gives everything away in practice. He gives everything away for a million different reasons. Number one, to work. Number two, to allow people to be able to pull with him. There's a lot of reasons why he does it. Work on his rise, do it slowly. He's not a fast starter. Um, but when you see him in a match, you see everything shut, everything changes. Now all lanes are shut down. Every tool that he has in his toolbox is implemented in that setup. How much do you need to practice that? Not much. And if you're going to practice it, you're probably going to practice it with somebody who's very well and evenly matched with you, who you trust, right? Who is on the same level, the same understanding level, who you have a good dynamic with and good chemistry on the table. In random pulls, the only real reason to do that is to protect one's status, because cameras are always rolling. So it's very interesting because you can choose to take the high road and say, I don't care if I get pinned in practice. But there's always someone who believes the practice pool. And like I said to you before we even started the video, like people look at, there was a video that got a whole bunch of views. Devin posted me and him practicing. And some more videos were made about that. So a ball in pins, you know, the comments were crazy. Like, this nobody's pinning Devin Larratt, he's done, and all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm pinning, if I pin Devin twice out of like a half an hour of pulling, it's because Devin allowed me to get to a spot. Period. End of story. He's not taking all that stuff away in the setup. He doesn't, you know. And matter of fact, in one of those pulls, he had the buckle, you know. So like, there's a lot of variables to that. And after, like, if I get a pin on Devin, we reset, and he goes, okay, now get ready. I'm gonna go a little bit harder, you know. Devin is comfortable with those situations. He's secure in them. A lot of people, and it's hard not to be, but like from my own perspective, if you go to a tournament and you get on a side table, you never know who's going to table shark you. And then there's videos out there and people will use that stuff against you. Is it a big deal? No. And I get pinned at practice all the time, like with my guys and wherever I can't remember a practice where I didn't get pinned, you know? So that's an important part of being on the defensive side and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. But the flip side to what you're saying is, if you do allow yourself to create a muscle memory situation where you're always losing, you're all this 12 to 2 becomes less sticky, you know? So I think there's an aspect of when you kind of have to crowd it. For me, what I try to do is, when, especially in preparation, is seek out guys that I can't do much with, you know. Go seek out that Marcio Barboza where he's in control, and I can be as aggressive as I want, you know, and I can set up like tournament style and he can still absorb it. To me, that's the best approach. But when you're working with guys who are developmental, or your guys or whatever, you have to give things away and you have to let them work, because you won't get any better either. You're going to work on your arm. So there's a lot of layers to that. And honestly, I know a lot of guys who are very uncomfortable with any practice pull-in when cameras are out, because of the fear of like misinterpretation. And it's a real thing. So I have to believe that there's a little bit of that in Denis, especially because when you lead the video off, you say, the guy who's pulling him with him in Dubai, and he says, what does he reply back? Is that good for your cameras? The fair start.
It was in Russia. Akimbo 69. He's a Russian. Yeah. And I think there are two aspects to it. First of all, I've seen many elites of the arm wrestling community kind of criticize it or to speak of it in a negative way when us YouTubers analyze practice pulls. First of all, I don't think anything is wrong with it, because number one, it shows that the sport is getting big. If Mike Tyson goes to practice with someone, to spar someone, and he's going to have to fight someone when he's making a comeback at 55, 56 years old, is he going to expect that nobody is going to analyze the practice footage? Of course, Mike just throws some shadow boxing punches and there are 50 videos about him. This clearly shows that the sport is big, and I just cannot understand why the arm wrestling elite community is against it. This clearly shows that the sport is getting big.
I think the problem is less the analytics of the pull and more the concern with the result. So like, I think practice pulling is great data. Like, I mean, I got to prepare for Rustam. He's a monster. And the most recent videos of him are practice. So am I going to say that I'm not looking at those videos? Absolutely, I'm looking at those videos. But I'm trying to look at mechanics. I'm looking at setup. I'm looking at like angles. I'm looking at like where the pressure's coming from. I'm not looking at that video and saying, oh my goodness, Paul Maiden is killing Rustam. He must not be good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Rustam is not initiating. Rustam is giving everything away. So what are we evaluating is more important than evaluating the outcome. So like, you can say Devin and me, like the biggest evaluation from that is that Devin is giving everything away. You know what I mean? And he's allowing me to work and find angles. So if you look at it from that perspective, break it down that way, rather than, you know, people coming in and saying, oh my goodness, how did Paul Lynn pin Devin? Well, there's a lot of variables at play, and that would not happen in a real match. So, and I'm a real enough person to say that. So I think we have to evaluate practice pulls because it's data, and plus it's cool content, you know, like we want to see these guys grip up. But I think we always have to keep in our mind that it is truly practice. And there's almost always there's never a true balance where both guys are being the same level of fair. One guy is taking more and the other guy is probably giving more away.
Mhm.
So, and one guy's probably more secure with being pinned on a camera and one guy's not. So those are important things to think about.
Have you watched that video where Dennis was practicing with him? It is on True Power channel and also on Akimbo 69. So Akimbo, this guy Maxim, you may have seen him have a practice super match with Larry Wheels recently. He's 19-year-old. He weighs about 73 kilos, and he beat Larry Wheels in a super match. I
Yeah.
think it was about 3-4 months ago. It
Mm-hmm.
was a practice match, and Larry was sore before the match. But still, being
Right.
19 years old and 73 kilos, beating Larry Wheels, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
So that kid
And
was
that's what, you know what? And right there is exactly why people don't want to get on the table after the tournament because this guy comes up and he's a table shark and he's waxing you, and
yeah.
everybody get to go, ooh, and the cameras are rolling, and people get weird, you know?
Yeah, but it was with Larry. It was almost kind of a official super match because there was the referees and everything.
Right.
There was scorecard, so everything was
Yeah.
recorded. And Dennis never had any threat against this kid, and I felt kind of bad for that guy, for that kid. You can clearly see it in his face, like he wanted something, he wanted to get something there, and Dennis didn't
Yeah.
give him anything. Like you could clearly see it on his face how disappointed he was. Like man, I didn't get
You
to do anything with him.
you know what, man? Like when it comes to like newer guys and stuff, it is funny to see how arm wrestlers, their perspective on how they treat newer guys. And I get into the discussion with people about like the amateur novice classes and Artem. You know, we all know Artem. We love Artem. Herman Stevens. These guys are believers in like you got to jump into the deep end. There should be no novice. There should be no amateur. Suck it up, Buttercup. Go out there, you get your arm broken, live and learn. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of like ruthless. Like the world's not going to have mercy on you. So go pull pro and stop. Like, what are we doing? I'm a believer in progression. I think you need to have steps, like climb the ladder, take your time, don't stress yourself out too much. Eventually it's going to get really hard and you're going to lose a lot. You got to be ready for that. So let's work our way to there. um, Different schools of thought, and some guys just do not take it easy on new guys in practice or smaller guys in practice. I personally am not one of those guys. I can't, like I just, like the coach in me is like, let's bring people along. But some people have a different perspective. And so, and I honestly, when we have new guys, like in the people in the club, whatever, I'm like, listen, stay away from that guy right there because he's gonna tear through your stuff. You know what I mean? So like, just stay away from him for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? But it's very interesting, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong. It depends on the person, how you respond.
Right.
You can yell at one kid, and he'll go run through a wall for you. And another kid needs to be coddled. It is what it is. Everybody's different, and that ties back into training too. It's like we're just not all the same. You can look for the most generic thing that applies to everyone and go with that, and go with a one size fits all, but we're all not one size.
Mhm. Let me read a few chats, then we'll progress. A few moments ago, Pavlo talked about like what about overall strength, overall power. I think he's talking about like compound exercises and something.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure. Pablo, I 100% agree in all that, for sure. But that's my personal belief. Like I know Pablo does bench press and all, like he's in the gym. I am the same way. The way I structure my training is one general strength movement supersetted with another corresponding arm wrestling movement. That's how I do it because I cannot get away from general compound strength. I can't. I need it. I think it all applies, and I don't think that strength is ever a weakness.
Mhm. And Armwrestling CEO was saying that looking dominant is good for match promotion. Alex was saying that I think he's protecting himself from accidental injury, which we are going to talk about
Yeah,
this further.
yeah, that's
And
viable also.
Clerks 93 is saying because he's being recorded probably. And all of them statements are absolutely correct.
Yep.
First of all, looking dominant is good for match promotion and getting your matches as well. Like if you can bully everyone on the table, and you can get a good payday in the future because people want to see you, people start following you more, and you can get a good payday, you'll get a match. Let's say if Dennis got pinned by Alex Cordecha at East versus West, if he didn't try to take that cup before the go, that would have ruined that. Even that practice pull could have ruined his future promotion match against Levon Saginashvili if he's
for
actually
sure.
that dominant. Like, man, Dennis is getting pinned by Kordecha. Like, it's
Yeah.
not worth it. People would lose interest. Why would he want that to happen? Like, and the same thing is not showing your losses. I think it is still a personal choice. People accuse Alex's brother and Alexander, Alex Baziaskov and Alexander, his brother, that they're not showing the matches where Schoolboy is losing. I mean, why would they? You can watch all of the matches. The ones that they have showed where he loses, it doesn't get enough views. But when he beats somebody, whether he's just a regular guy on the street or some experienced arm wrestler, that gets like tens of millions of views. So why wouldn't
Right.
he show what is already working for him? And if those wins are getting him matches, those wins are getting him recognition, I think it is pure business. There shouldn't be anything
It's
wrong about
business.
that.
It's
Yeah.
business. It's simple. Schoolboy is a brand. At the
Yep.
end of the day, he is a brand. He is a brand where people like. I can't mention that I arm wrestle without somebody asking me about Schoolboy. And and then when I say, "Oh yeah, I know him and his brother," then it's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that's the most amazing thing that I can say about arm wrestling to somebody who doesn't know arm wrestling is I actually know these people
Mm-hmm.
because they're like Schoolboy is a household name in arm wrestling and to non-arm wrestlers. So why would you not protect that brand? The brand is that he's young, baby faced, and beats everyone and anyone. You can't run around showing the negative pieces. And oh, by the way, he's also at like a world level. Like, and there's a lot of people in the arm wrestling community who don't want to believe that. But I mean, the guy's 6'5", like 265, and he's like 22 and getting better. Like he is at a world level.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you got to protect that brand, and that's a very successful YouTube channel that is creating finances for both Alex and his brother here and back in Russia. So, like, it's very, very important. It
Uh,
is. It's all
I
business.
think, Paul, the thing that Schoolboy got stuck in Russia after COVID, he wasn't there in US. That kind of hurt the brand a lot because you can clearly see the views going down. Like they had like 150 million views per month, 140 million views per month, and from there they went to probably 1 or 2 million views per month because he wasn't in US. I think if he was in US during
Absolutely.
that whole COVID period, maybe that channel would have been up to 3-4 million subscribers by now. But it was
Well,
unfortunate. Let's hope it gets back on track once again.
and the beginning of that channel was interesting. I mean, I met Alex, his brother, like right when I started. And I mean, Alex is a good friend of mine. He was up here in the Northeast and he trained at Morocco's in Maryland. And we were like good friends. He stayed at my house a bunch of times at tournaments and he did some videos on me early that kind of got me out there. He's just been a great guy. When he started off, his brother was not involved. He was just doing tournament footage. And
Mm.
he was the first channel to actually have professional edits. And as of late, Alex has not been very active. Alex also has a lot of other businesses and everything. And I don't know if some of those others have become more lucrative for him. That's the only thing I can think of. But him and his wife are living very well. So maybe they don't need the YouTube
Yeah.
money that much anymore. But I know, Schoolboy, he'll do the videos every now and then on his phone there or whatever camera that Alex sent him. But yeah, the content has definitely dwindled. I think like the frequency of posting
Yeah.
that
I
probably has a lot to do with it. And Schoolboy can't be Schoolboy when he's 30, so we gotta
yeah.
we
Hurry up.
can we ride that so long.
So I think I was thinking about making a video about as many arm wrestlers as I can, like what is the actual profession of that arm wrestler. And I asked Schoolboy's brother maybe a year and a half ago, like what should I mention for you? Like, are you a full-time YouTuber or something? And he just kind of
Entrepreneur.
he just laughed it off like YouTube isn't even a thing for him.
Yeah, entrepreneur. That guy's smart, man. Alex is a smart dude, and he has a lot of pokers in the fire at all times. So he had a bunch of like internet sales things, all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
The guy's smart. So I mean, I can only I know I don't know, but I can imagine the numbers that YouTube channel does like when it's going.
Hmm.
And if you don't need that, then you're probably doing good.
Yeah, for general, I'll say if the video is over 8 minutes long, I think in arm wrestling community we can roughly take an estimate of about $3 per thousand views. So if we
Right.
add that up to 100 million views, and maybe somebody can do the math in the chat. 100 million views per month, and for every thousand views you get $3. Can somebody do the math? How much would 100 million views
So
be
now
worth?
that we're on this topic, a gentleman who I text back and forth with in the arm wrestling community sent me some. So we're talking about East versus West, and he sent me Angin's numbers. I guess there's a. I don't know anything about this. Ryan Bowen, I guess, told him that there's a website that's fairly accurate as far as projecting like what the monthly revenue is for a YouTube channel, and the numbers for Angin's channel during that week where everything was coming out were like crazy, like amazing. And I was like, there's no way this is real. I said, send me all these other, like, so he sent me like Devin's, he sent me Arm Wrestling TV. Then he sent me mine. I make $7 a month, apparently. It's good to know. Anyway, but
Social
it put
Blaze,
it
I
all
think
into
Social
perspective.
Blade or Social Blaze is the name of that website.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how accurate it is, but
It's
like,
pretty accurate. I can almost, for every channel I can tell you the almost exact number. Engin's channel is difficult to know, because if it was showing high for Engin's channel, it is probably even higher than that, because Engin gets a lot of super chats as well, and super
yeah,
chat is not counted on that website.
yeah. Well, it's amazing and it's awesome and I love it. And then now he also has the East versus West channel. And I understand that like the content is being dumped when it's being released and edited or whatever. Like, so we take the pay-per-view content, we start dumping like 2 or 3 matches a day. Of course, it's going to look like a spike, but it's amazing. It was amazing. And I think like for that time period that he sent, it was like rivaling like arm wrestling TV. And I was like, wow, this is huge. But that shows the trajectory, East versus West, and what Angel's doing. It's amazing.
Mhm. Pavlo did some calculation, and he's saying that that is $300,000 per month. Wow. For
That's
schoolboy
good.
that we calculated. So not every video is above 8 minutes. So maybe still we can say $250,000.
I do remember Alex saying that the CPI, like his CPI wasn't great
Okay,
because
okay.
of where of the volume of his viewers were coming from as far as the countries. So I
Hmm.
guess that weighs in. I don't know.
Hmm. CPM. It is called CPM and
Yeah,
RPM.
there you go.
Yeah.
Correct now.
Okay. So unidentified X with a $10 super chat. Hopefully Dennis goes easy on the steroids this time.
Mm,
What do you have to say about that?
I don't know. I mean, all we have is prior history. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he doesn't look like he used to look, and he looks like he's still strong, which is what we talked about. So
Yeah.
maybe he's good to go.
Have you
I hope
watched
so.
that? Have you watched the video where Dennis was reacting to his own older matches, like when he was 16 years old, 15 years old, I think he was, and he was only 65 kilos. That video is like 350,000 views. So Dennis
Really?
was competing in Ukrainian nationals. He won his first Ukrainian national when he was like 15, 16 years old and only
Yeah.
65. So he was telling his background story that they didn't have enough food. Like if he had enough food at that time, he would already be like 75 kilos, but he was only
Right.
65 because he couldn't eat enough. The family condition was very bad, and then it was the first time he won Ukrainian nationals, and he didn't even tell anyone. And after a week, when somehow the results came in their school, and everyone started congratulating him, and he was like, what's up? And the teacher was asking him like, why didn't you tell us that you won in arm wrestling championship? And Dennis was like, what was there to tell you guys about? Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't
why did
anything,
you do
it wasn't anything
that?
special. Then after that he mentioned that when I got my first job, I got some money. He said that, I think the translation was, I didn't take any drugs until I got my job. This is what he said. I don't know what it meant, but that's what he said in that chat. And people have same accusations about same thoughts about Levan as well, that Levan is not going probably going to end up like Dennis. And I don't think that, because we already have that one example, and Levan is probably going to leave arm wrestling for other reasons, because he's getting movie offers, he's getting Dancing
Yeah.
with Stars offers, he's already doing movies. I don't think Levan is going to stay like WWE. if Vince McMahon, I don't know Vince is still there in WWE or not, but if he just got laid his eyes on Levan in 2019, silverback, 180 kg guy, 190,
Yeah,
that is a perfect guy to be on a WWE card. Levan needs to be there. Yeah.
100%. And that's the like the idea of WWE is just opening up more doors for movie roles and everything else. Really, WWE is not but a stepping stone, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, I mean, you're probably right. And he's still fairly young.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not. I mean, I posted something on Instagram with me and Levon, and I made sure I stood back to like make the perspective look super terrible. And like every kid when I got to the weight room was like, "Who was that guy? Is he really that big?" I said, "Nah, it's not Photoshop." You know what I mean? Yeah, he's that big. Yeah, I mean, the guy has endless possibilities, and he got a good personality.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. So he's got like what, 200 pounds on you?
at least, yeah, probably like 210, something like that. I don't know how big he was that day, but yeah.
Yeah, and coming back to that protecting your brand topic once again, like let's go into fiction for a moment. Rocky, like if Rocky didn't win, like would we still be talking about that movie 3 4 decades later? Probably not, because he won. Wins are always going to matter more than your losses, I think. And there are few Instagram channels, I wouldn't name the country or the name of the page, but you can go through their whole Instagram page, and the all of the footages are of them winning. So to the newer audience, he may be like ranked 15th 20 nationally in his weight category, but for the newer audience, he's unbeatable because his Instagram page shows that he's only winning, he's beating everyone,
I
and
mean,
he's getting brand deals, getting sponsorships. So in today's world, I think if you are showing your losses, you're kind of dumb, you're stupid,
nah,
you're hurting your own financial possibilities if you're showing
yeah,
your losses.
it's like a catch 22, and then there's a point, right? So it depends on what your brand is. And this is going to bring into another like trigger type topic here. Um, so first, let me say that I think the best things for me in my arm wrestling career and the best opportunities and doors that were open for me were posting of my losses. Um, Not me losing to some stumble bum at a bar, but me losing to Craig Tuya after making him work, or losing to John. I would never be on East versus West if I hadn't lost to John and have John talk to Angan and said, no, Angan, like he forced me in those spots. If I hadn't had that endorsement based off of that loss and that video that got me out there, I would never be on East versus West. Neil would have never reached out to me for WAL if I hadn't had that loss to Craig Tuya in the 2018 Arnold Classic.
Mm-hmm.
I post these things, I accept them, and to me it's like a badge of honor, because if I value this person, I think that they're that great. Like if I can go out to, and like let's be real, if I arm wrestle with Rustam and he's super strong, but I can make him arm wrestle and stop the match, I'm very proud of that video. You know, if
Yeah.
I can pin him once, I'm very proud of that video. So it's all depends on the perspective, but that's because of where I was at in the sport. Now you take a look at it like Schoolboy, who is a great arm wrestler, but the demographic that he's reaching out to doesn't even understand arm wrestling.
Yeah.
It's important to protect that image. The arm wrestling whisperer, the biker. Do you know this guy
Yeah, I've seen him.
on TikTok?
Yeah.
So this has been like a weird one that has popped up in my Facebook feed a lot about this guy. I guess his name, I can't say his name, I don't want to butcher it, Etienne or whatever. He's a great dude. I've conversed back and forth a little bit with him. But I mean, kids ask me if I can beat him. And I'm like, he's 160 pounds. Like TikTok is its own world. He went viral. It's awesome. It is great publicity for the sport. It is phenomenal. But now, as of late, he has started to post losses to guys like Alan Fisher or whoever. And I think that has given him legitimacy in the arm wrestling community, because if he's making money, whatever, based on his brand, that's great. He also is a very talented arm wrestler, and he has a very high ceiling, and he could be really, really good. It's a thin line balancing the acceptance of this very small niche arm wrestling community, where you're not getting destroyed and judged all the time, to get yourself into like a level where these guys respect you, but also have that brand to the layman who doesn't really know arm wrestling. So to me, he is the most interesting recent guy, because I think that guy can be really, really good. And I think that he is on the trajectory to do that. But it's awesome. At the end of the day, people want to fuss about Schoolboy. Oh, Schoolboy's not that good, or the Arm Wrestling Whisperer, he's not that good. No, these guys are good, and they are good for the sport because they're getting it out there. This is like Devin has mentioned it. Like Devin went and worked with the guy. These guys are like almost as valuable as somebody to the level of like Larry Wheels. Larry Wheels is like the king of like getting it out there, and these guys are right there with him. So important.
I forgot the name of YouTube channel, but you remember Alan Fisher? They did they did a video with Alan Fisher. Like they had 3 levels. First of all, you win $5 if you beat the YouTuber, the owner of the channel, and $50 or something like that if you. Now you have a choice if you want to take the $5-10 whatever you got after beating that person, or step up to the next challenge, $50 for this upcoming guy. If you also beat him, which most of them did, they set it up for that way, then you have to risk those $50 to get probably $100 or $500 if you beat Alan Fisher. And that video got like 3-4 million views. So I'm not sure why arm wrestling community is not learning from these YouTubers. That single video probably gave Alan Fisher more recognition, single video, that he was not able to gain by himself in his entire life. I'm not sure if you combine all of Alan Fisher's videos, it will add up to 1 million or 2. And that video gave him like 4 million views, 3 million views.
Buddy, so, I have had, you know what? I'm the king of wasted ideas and wasted like energy on things. Like I've like contemplated doing so many of these things, but at the end of the day, like you said, I'm lazy on social media. You're right. But like, yeah, we talked about like I go down to Wildwood in New Jersey, and we have this beautiful boardwalk, and I brought my table one time, and Black Ice came with me. You know Black Ice 160, and I'm like, this is awesome. We're gonna put you on the boardwalk at midnight when everybody's drinking, and we're gonna offer $20 for anybody to beat you at 160 pounds. And then we just didn't do it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I don't know. My hat's off to all these guys that are doing. Like we saw what's his name? The guy who was just on the last East versus West, that pulled it early on. I can't
pulled with whom?
Oh, the Russian dude or Ukrainian dude that pulled with Georgie.
Okay.
He was like looked like Bronson.
Sergey Kalinichenko.
Like these guys are going out of their way to do it. It's awesome. Like we've seen, what have we seen? Chance Shaw do it. We've seen Saban do it. We've seen Alex do it. It's cool. And those things are so good for the sport. I'm just too lazy.
And I'm really happy with that guy, Sergey Kalinichenko. He lost that match, but he was good. He showed up like bald in glasses and everything. He called Matt Mask out during that press conference. And his plan, and before that, a couple of weeks before that, he was on Engin's podcast, and even there he said that, Engin, I hope it is like a dream of me. Like I hope I win this match against Zaranov, and I hope Matt Mask also beats Sandris. Then I will call Matt Mask out, and then we will have a match. This is what he proposed to Engin. Unfortunately, both of them lost their matches, so maybe they can still have a match.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's great.
I messaged Engin about this.
That guy, he's doing a lot and everything.
Yeah.
But he came off really humble. Like I did like a press conference interview with him. He was like, "This is the biggest match of my life. The most important thing I've ever done."
Yeah.
Like he was very like humble and in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I messaged Engin after that. Like, Engin, do you remember this? He said that I sent him a clip. I edited the video out where a couple of weeks ago he said that he wants to face Matt Mask if he wins this match, and Matt also wins his match against Andres. Then he called him out at the press conference. He showed up like ready to promote that match. And I think I told Engin that I think he's doing genuine efforts. So at least we should release this video. And Engin was like, yeah, go ahead. So I uploaded that video on East vs West channel. Like the Sergey Kalinichenko calls out Matt Mask. He literally said, I hate Matt Mask, and I'll beat him. And then as soon as I posted that video, in like 3 minutes after that, The dude shares it everywhere on Instagram, tagging Core Sports, tagging Larry
Yeah,
Wheels, tagging Engin Terzi. He tagged like 10 different people, and all of them shared that on their own stories. Like he's doing genuine effort, like genuine effort.
that's
And
the
I was really
move,
happy to see
man.
that.
That's how this thing grows. If you got enough people that'll do that and just post stuff on stories and go nuts, like that's how you do it. And I like that guy's like Artem was giving me like the backstory of like the arm break and everything. I think we might have talked about it before, like the arm break and Zlati
Yeah.
and the reason why he doesn't have this resume. Like, there's like he's been really good for really long, but he just didn't get those accolades for whatever reason. Like he's really, really good and he's a stud and he has charisma.
Hmm.
Like I think
And
we'll see a whole lot more of him.
that gimmick, that gorilla suit or monkey suit, whatever it was in the previous
That's
East, how awesome was that? Like I interviewed him after that, and I knew if I just use Sergey Kalinchenko, that interview is probably going to get a couple of thousand views. But
mm,
I did something different, like an arrow, like who is this gorilla
yeah,
suit guy? I did a 40-minute interview with him, and that got like 5,000 views, and
yeah.
that gimmick is still serving him till this date. I think he's doing great on the social media part.
It's so crazy, man. It's all about the thumbnails and the dang title.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Somebody saying Rocky lost in the first movie. We're
He
not
did.
talking
I was
about.
gonna call you on that a little bit. I was gonna say that, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, he lost. He went the distance and he loved his life and everything, and then everything changed.
The,
Then he
the, the
went gone.
final movie, like we none of us watched those movies when they were being released. We're talking about them now. What was the result in the final
What do
fight he
you
had?
mean? You think I'm 12? I watched the Rocky movies when it was being released. I was like, yeah, I mean, come on, man. What was the first one? Was 79. I was 7 years old. I remember watching it.
You remember
Yeah,
that
man. Come
story
on,
even
bro.
now?
Come on. I grew up on Rocky. I love it. Sylvester Stallone is like my idol.
So what was the result of the final fight that he had? I forgot. I watched all of the movies, but what was the result of final
The
movie?
first the first movie he loses to Apollo Creed. He
Yeah.
goes the distance.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is go to the distance. He beats him.
Hmm.
He beats him in two. Then in three,
Russian guy, he
he
loses. He loses to
in
Russian guy.
three in three he fights
He won.
he fights Hulk Hogan and then he fights Mr. T. He
Okay,
loses to
Mr. T.
Mr. T, comes back and beats him. In four, he fights Dolph Lundgren, who looks
Yeah.
like Morozov. Um, and Dolph Lundgren kills Apollo in the
Yeah.
previous match, and then he goes and avenges that.
Yeah.
And then in five, he doesn't actually fight a boxing
So
match.
so the final fight he won, right? That's what I was
Tommy
trying to
Gunn
say.
in the street, in the street. My
Yeah.
ring's outside.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it still.
Yes, it's working. I had a short practice pull with Devon. It's over million views, Pavlo is saying. So this is the learning from this live stream. Have practice pulls. What Paul just mentioned about the biker guy and himself, with him losing to John Brzezing being actually good for him. I think the learning from that is, if you are losing to a guy who is probably more famous than you or much higher in status than you, or both, then show those footages. If not, then hide them away. Just delete them.
That is the takeaway. Everything else that was said, just underline what was just said right there. Only post anything about guys beating you who are notably better than you or way bigger than you. That's it.
Yeah.
No,
I,
I'm kidding.
I never knew till about 2021 that Tommy, I think, that Rocky was training in the final
Tommy
movie.
Gunn,
I
Tommy
never knew that
Morrison.
he was a real boxer.
Tommy Morrison was the man. Tommy
Yeah.
Morrison got HIV. Don't get me down the boxing rabbit hole. Don't get me down.
All right.
We just
all
saw
right.
Tyson Fury fight tonight, man. This is great. It's been a good night.
So, performance enhancing pancakes. Should I post the footage of me losing to my grandma? If she's famous, then yes. Otherwise, don't.
Listen, at Performance Enhancing Pancakes, Devin started arm wrestling with his grandmother, and she
Hey,
beat him all the time.
yeah.
I started with my mom. She whipped my ass forever.
So my thoughts coming to this practice. Like, should I put my arm on the table at East versus West? It is clear I'm going to lose to everyone. Like, what is the point? My arms are probably going to hurt when I'm holding the camera, when I need to record the footage. Doesn't make much sense. People are going to make fun of me losing. Although everyone knows, including me, that I'm going to lose, but still, if they find that footage, they're going to use that to kind of make fun of me. This is the guy who tells us about arm wrestling. He doesn't know anything. So
Yeah.
so I still I can post those videos because those guys are more famous than me. And if Paul beats me, of course I'm going to post it on my page. But if someone
I'll let you win,
like
brother. I'll
Roman
let you
from
win.
SG Records, if Roman from SG Records pins me, I'm choking him
Yeah.
out till he deletes that footage.
Yeah, you know what? I cannot count the amount of times where cameras have been rolling and people have been asked to delete footage. Like in my presence, like where people are like,
I think that's smart. I
it
think
comes up.
that's smart
Yeah,
decision.
you know what? You know what? You can go and arm wrestle whoever you want for sure. And especially if you're like, well, what's your motivation? At the end of the day, if you want to grab somebody and feel how strong they are, or if you actually want to get a workout, like that's one thing. I haven't pulled after the East versus West events, and somebody posted something on one of these discussion groups or whatever. It was like, oh, no, such and such didn't pull. And I'm like, I'm not pulling because I'm at the bar. I'm sorry. Like the match is over, the anxiety, we just had the emotional dump. I just had super ADD, emotional overload. Like I'm out of it, you know? Um, it's not that I wouldn't want to do it. It's just that I'm already punched out mentally. But as far as you going in arm wrestling, grab everybody, you know, learn a little bit, but go with the intention. And like, who cares if you get pinned? Unless you're worried about your brand. But I don't know if everybody's looking at arm wrestling news and saying this guy's the next guy to face the Bond.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. I think you might be
But still,
safe.
what I said to you, like, does it make any sense or not? Because everyone knows, like I mentioned, everyone knows that I'm going to lose to everyone in that building. That is no secret, and
Mm-hmm.
and all of them are more famous than me. But still, do you think people wouldn't make like use those videos like to kind of make fun of me whenever they don't agree with whatever I say?
Maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe, but again, that's like a weak troll. It's a pretty weak troll. You know what I mean? Like in the grand scheme of things of like understanding everything, you can credit. You could probably shrug that one
this
off.
is this is somehow I reply to people as well whenever somebody mentions in comments like, have you ever even won a state title or a national title? Like, I've never heard of that guy, and I'm like, what has your state title done for you till now? Like, you're coming here, nobody's even knows you. Your state title, has it gotten you any sponsorships? Can you earn some money from it? Can you earn some recognition from it? Like, what has your state title done for you? And you're coming here to tell me that, like, you have not won anything. Like, how can you even talk?
There's like when you look at sports and everything like that, it's very interesting to look at like coaching. Um, it's easy to look at like NFL's, the thing over here and everything, and that's what I'm closest to. And there's some staffs like NFL staffs that the entire coaching staff is like ex NFL players, and that looks great on paper. And then there's other staffs where you got guys that don't have a star-studded background, or like you got the Sean McVays of the world who are in their 20s, like, and didn't have some crazy highlight career, but he's like amazing, like you can understand a sport without having played it at a high level. And what's so interesting is that often the guys that understand the technical aspects the most are the ones who weren't the most talented, because you're forced to learn those things when you're not the strongest, biggest, fastest guy. So if you have to rely on the technical aspects, you'll probably educate yourself a little bit faster than if you're the biggest, strongest guy in the room. So there's a lot of different perspectives on like who can be a quote unquote, like, a standard as far as like analytics in the sport, or who's qualified.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways to look at it, and it could be your playing career, it could be your competing career, but it could also be like how close you watch it and how hard you have to focus on the details in order to be good at it.
Yeah.
So a lot of different things there. And I don't think that like accolades, some of the smartest arm wrestlers that I know, like on my team, are not competing at a high pro level.
I sometimes wonder, like, of course, if I train really hard, I can be somewhat average level or maybe slightly below average. But in this state, like completely untrained state, when I can go to a practice and a day after that I'm going to get those beginner elbow pains. In that stage, I sometimes wonder, like, what can my level be? Like, can I beat a 55 kg women's world champion? WAF champion? Can I beat a 60
No,
kg
dude.
women's
Here
WAF?
we're getting to the segment in the episode where I give you your weekly motivation. Okay, so
Okay.
buckle in. Don't focus on the end result. Don't
Mm-hmm.
focus on the end result. Every day that you go to the gym or the practice table, you're bringing one brick with you. Okay, every workout, every practice is one brick. You want to build a building. You have one brick each time. You're starting with the foundation. Don't worry about the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take time. Let's enjoy the process and lay a brick one day at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. My goal is always going to be like, maybe if I can get somewhat decent, like 90%, if I get to 90 or 80% of the abilities where I can reach, if I dedicate my life to it, if I get to 80% of that, I'm a happy guy, because my main focus is always going to be YouTube. It is always going to be YouTube.
No, no, no. Don't say that again. No. You know what the worst thing in the world is? Wasted potential. If you can't, like, if you were saying, you know what, I'll be okay if I get to 98, 99%,
Okay.
then I would accept that. Don't shoot at 80%. Shoot at 100 and fail at 80. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Set your goals like crazy and then fail, like shoot for the stars and fail at the moon, dude.
Yeah.
Like this, we're in the final segment of this episode, and this is where I got to put my foot in your ass. Okay.
Yeah. My
Let's
my
do it.
point.
Now, what did you say? What did you say? We were talking a little bit earlier today. You're going to do a little effort to do a transformation
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
now and January.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Yep.
yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What are, yeah.
Once I started thinking about, somebody mentioned in the comments like about exercises and stuff, one arm pull up, and I just mentioned in one live stream about a year ago that yeah, there was a time when I was able to do a one arm pull up, and somebody super chatted like, I can have a bet with you, you can never do a one arm pull up. That got me motivated for some time, like, man, maybe I need to lose 7 8 kilos for that, can I get back to that state? But then I
Guess
kind
who's
of
never
lost.
going to do a one arm pull up? This guy can't, never will, can't.
I've
I
done one arm pull ups with like 15 pounds on my other arm,
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
and now
So
I cannot do like 10 2 arm pull ups, like 5 or 6 at max right now. That's how
muscle
bad
memory,
of a shape.
man, muscle memory. It'll be right back. You just got to go hard. It'll be right back. Get past the first 2 weeks of lactic acid, you'll be ready to roll. Then when you
Hmm.
change the diet, yeah. So
All right.
hopefully. So what is your plan? You're gonna put this like on your members
Yeah.
videos, or
Guys,
what are you
you
gonna
guys
do?
tell me in the chat, like, what should I do? Like, the only way for me to separate those, because I do not want to show my training videos on my channel. Like, this is a news channel. I want to keep it to the like popular topic, like the hot topics only. So the only way for me to separate is on a members channel. Maybe I can create a members page for like $1 a month, if some of you are interested in that. Maybe you can join. And I think I should do that, because yes, you have to be a decent, like, you should at least, my goal initially was like to at least look like an arm wrestling journalist, like.
Mm. The important thing is the identification with the journey that it takes to get there. So it's less about what you look like or what your level is, but like the understanding of, like, here's the process. I'm going to set out to do this, like the preparation process. I know you've done it in the past and everything, but there's a legitimacy piece to being able to identify with, all right, we're going to work out 4 or 5 days a week. We're going to prepare for this. We're going to eat clean, whatever the case may be. I think that that's more important than anything. And I think people are always interested in seeing a journey. And Ryan Bowen said it, and we can say what we want about Ryan, but Ryan's smart. And Ryan said, like, when he started out, like, he encouraged people to document the process. So document your journey. I stumbled on that with my YouTube channel. I was just being a dum-dum, and YouTube was new, and I was like, oh, cool, let me just record everything I'm doing like a weirdo at every tournament. We get everybody's matches. And if you go back, those videos are terrible. They're horrible. But that shows the beginning, and that's there like forever, indelibly in time, to show how terrible I was. And then the progress. So you're in a unique position where you have the opportunity to capture that before and that after and all the in between. So I don't know if everyone, as far as who subscribes to you, is interested in that or not, but I would venture to guess that a lot of people are really interested. People love body transformations and life transformations. We all love the evolution of things. So I don't think that it even kills your demographic of audience being a news channel saying, I'm going to have a playlist that's segmented. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't share it to the same groups that you
Yeah.
share it to, and just put it out there, title it different, and have like numbered incremental things. But I think you have a lot of options. And I always love this stuff because this is really kind of my whole forte. And I enjoy nothing more than seeing people make those process, like the progress. I always, like, if I'm doing a weight cut between me and me, I always do like a before and after. Because when you put yourself through that weird discipline level and then you sweat all the water out, you you want like a documented thing of like, oh, I did do that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, why are you doing it? You know, like I don't keep trophies. I don't pay mine to them for whatever reason. I can't. But when I'm doing, like, if I'm making a big cut or something, there's something that makes me say like, all right, I have to do it before and after.
Mm-hmm.
Something in the back of my head.
Yeah. I think I'll do that. The thing is that I'm not a big guy. I have these double chins, like I'm really fat even at 85 86 kilos. So if I'm fit, I will probably be 77 78 kilos, somewhere in
Right.
that range, probably less than 80. I'll try to do that. Pablo is saying I will challenge you on one arm pull up, and JR Williams, okay, 89 kg. Alexander is saying sorry, but Pradeep
Pablo,
could.
so Pablo's saying he can do one arm pull-ups at like 245 or whatever the hell he is.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. Maybe I'll mention in the
Tell
chat now.
him
And
I'll catch him at the next Monster Factory. I I'm looking
Alexander
to
is
do
saying sorry, but Pradeep can never do one arm pull up. Let's see. Probably, probably you're right. So the thing is
that.
that maybe I'll do that. People are going to enjoy me watching struggling to bench 150 pounds. There was a moment, Paul, when I was like 72, 73, 74 kilos. My pull up weight, the weight with which I can pull up, do like not a full range but arm wrestling style pull up, and the way that I can weight that I can bench, they were almost same. They were almost same.
You know what though? That's interesting because like when you were doing them like pull-ups, were you training your total body or you just kind of could do it?
I was like training a little bit, maybe 2 3 times a week, a little bit. Not like the training like when you go to the gym and then you start thinking, man, what should I do now? Like that kind of
When
training.
you when you deal with like younger kids, you see at like certain age groups where their pulling strength is better than their pushing strength. And a
Yeah.
lot of that can have to do with like just not being comfortable with those movements too.
Mm-hmm.
So a little saving grace there. I think we usually, when we get kids coming in as like freshmen, a lot of times they can rip out like 15, 20 pull-ups and then can't bench their body weight. It's
Yeah.
very weird.
Yeah, same for
But
me
it
as well.
has to do with like CNS stuff.
Mm-hmm. Does Lynn climb ropes? And sometimes I see like rope climbing. Somebody's mentioning, wow, he can climb ropes without. I was like really weak. When I was really weak, I can probably put on a 10 kg vest, 20 25 pound vest, and I can climb rope without using my feet. To me,
Yeah.
pulling anything was never a big deal. Like pushing even my body weight is like almost an impossible task for me.
I don't climb ropes. I don't have access to it really at my gym. We have lower ceilings and everything, and it would be like 3 increments to get to the top. But I do sled pulls with ropes. But and in my mind, whether it's right or wrong, I'm pulling this way. So I'll put weights on a sled and I'll pull them against the floor this way, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull them against the floor this way. But that's a very supplemental lift that I don't do all the
And Chan Shaw is in the house. What's up, guys? What's up, Chance?
time. Hey,
And
Chance, congrats on a very successful tournament. I watched as much as I could.
yeah,
Thanks for taking care of my guy Troy.
I am yet to watch it. It was like I was at my night shift when the tournament was on.
Yeah, I caught the Noel Nunez match. He
Mhm.
crushed it.
Somebody
That
mentioned
guy.
that Pablo has done them in the past. Eric Shader is saying.
One
Pradeep,
arm
what is
pull
your
up.
Pradeep, what is your current weight? 85, 86 kilos, but kind of fat. So Paul, quickly talking about, we have always like already been over an hour live, 80 people watching. Your upcoming match. Like tell us something about Monster Factory. Where is the match? Like what date and where can we watch it? And against who?
Saturday the 10th. It's against Pablo. He's in the chat. Pablo, I do not want to butcher your name. Maybe Pradeep can help me on the last
Derbed
name. Can you
Yenev.
say it again?
Derbed Yenev.
Durbin Yenyev. I butchered it right there after I just heard you say it. Pablo, I apologize. But yes, Pablo is like one of North America's absolute best, both right and left arm at 242. He's a stud bench press champion. think I saw his last video somewhere in like the high fives or something crazy. Yeah, and he's an absolute like gentleman of a person. So yeah, tall task for sure. He's strong inside and outside. That'll be in Hot Springs, Arkansas on the 10th on Saturday. You can check it out on Monster Factory YouTube channel. That's Monster Michael Todd's YouTube channel that is streamed for free. Love the way Monster Factory and Michael Todd does their promotions. The business model is great, and it gets a ton of views on different platforms. So huge for the sport, and I'm always happy to support Michael Todd in these endeavors.
Mm-hmm. And little bit of a reference for some of you guys who may not know this story, but both Pablo and John and Paul have recently faced John Brezink, and both of them lost to John 3-0. And but the matches were not completely one-sided. If I were to guess, or if I were to say which one was closer, I think Paulin's match was much closer. Even though Pablo in the first round took John near to the pad, Paul was not quite able to get there. But I would say
That's
Paul's match looked closer. Like if we were to just guess by those two matches, I think it is an extremely close match.
Okay, that's bad data. So I was the earlier match
Yeah,
on
I get
John's
it.
comeback. Every match, John got better. And don't know how the decision process on the setup was early in the early matches with Pablo. But John stayed outside against Pablo in the first two matches, which made it look a little bit more one-sided. When they went inside in the third round, Pablo looked like a damn brick wall. And you could see it on John's face. He had to pull extremely technically in the hook, and he had to work
Mm-hmm.
really, really hard for the pin. So when I look at that data, I say I'm in trouble. So I guess it depends on how you want to interpret it.
Yeah,
But
I get.
I think I'm a realist,
Yeah.
and Pablo's a stud. So I'll do my best. I'll try and bring my best game. I'm healthy, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll give it a all.
Yeah. Again, what was the date once again?
December 10th, Saturday, this upcoming Saturday.
December 10th. And Pablo is going to have a left-handed super match as well against Monster Michael Todd, which is the main event of the night. That one is also again going to be really close. Unless Pablo is really susceptible, like really vulnerable to that fast press, I think he has to be quite a lot stronger than.
He's got to get away with the load. He has to
Yeah.
get away with hand load. He has to.
Mhm.
It's strict. They're stricter there for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay.
So I've had trouble in my
Again,
past.
Paul, very quickly going back to that topic, like that training topic, like should you, like I've always heard that you should train under the circumstances that you are going to arm wrestle on. It is a thing, like if you are, I once commented like maybe 3 years ago, like Paul has those 7x9 pads that he's practicing on, and at that time you were in WL and you were saying like, I think maybe it was 4 years ago, I commented under one of your videos, and you're like, practice under the situations that you're going to compete in. This is why I got reminded of this question. In today's world, referees don't even square the shoulders of the other guy. Like if they're arm wrestling right-handed, so the only person who is on the left side to the referee, only that person is having to arm wrestle with squared shoulders. Like our
So
guy Paul, Mr. Paul, is always like coiled up like
we
this.
have to talk about this now. We have to talk about this because I've had a rebuttal for this probably like 6 months ago when you first mentioned it. The squaring of the shoulders, right? So when you look at arm wrestling as a whole, arm wrestlers want their hips faced towards where they want to pin, right?
Yeah.
Most of them actually will point their toes that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about contortion. And you talk about Devin getting his arm all the way in, like the flexibility required. I don't have it, but Devin being able to put his elbows together, like this is things that these guys work with, contortion. So depending on the perspective, you don't complain about me having my shoulders squared when I'm on the other side of the table. You only complain from that one where there's a perspective that it isn't. The perspective problem is that you're looking at my lat and you're not looking at my shoulder. So when I'm setting up here, my lat is all the way out and I look totally twisted, but the shoulder joint, both of them are in line. That's why we get away with it. So by the letter of the law, most guys in WAF, which I'm amazed by, most guys just kind of like this. And it amazes me how guys can arm wrestle that way, like, because so many lanes are different. And like, even when you watch Devin, when you watch him set up in practice, he's like this. When you watch him set up in a tournament, he's like this. So there's like, and I'm the same way in practice. I set up just like this in practice. And then in a tournament, I'm like, So I think that there's different levels to that. But as long as these joints, as long as this ball and socket joint is in line with this one, you're technically square. So
but are they always aligned? Like you can watch any of Jerry's match. Like there is clear like almost this much shoulder forward. And the Vitali versus Dave match, I think the sixth round, Dave was literally starting like this. His arm if this is a neutral position, Dave started like this in that final round.
No, you're right. And that, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong about like shoulder squaring at all times.
My problem is only one guy is getting his shoulders squared. The referee is tapping the guys on his left side, and just because the shoulder of the guy who's on the right is far away on the other side, the referee never bothers to touch that guy.
I know. It's tricky. It is definitely tricky. And then there's sometimes where the match will wear on and the focuses will shift to other things. Like there's so much sleight of hand in arm wrestling, that, like, let's be real. We probably shouldn't be talking about it too much, but there's so much sleight of hand and distraction that goes on. So a head referee is trying to referee you. I watched Mindaugas do it with Justin Bishop. It was masterful. And I told him afterwards, I said, like, you're like a magician. Like you just, that was total sleight of hand. He redirected focus. He talked. He pointed his eyes different places, and he hit everything that he was doing. It was masterful. Like, it was like, I'm like doing my best to corner Justin and watching this and saying, holy crap, he is in control of all this stuff. He's getting away with everything. He's pointing at Justin's elbow. He's putting all the focus on Justin and taking everything away. So like when Devin talks about this being a fight and all this different stuff, and like, it's the same stuff Devin does, and when you look at the Prudnick match, Devin was just on such a whole different level in that setup game. So I get it, like with the strict rules and everything else, but there is a beauty to that as well. I'm not great at it. I need to learn.
Right. Okay. Wade with the $5 super chat. Neil pickup is awesome. Cannot wait until Sunday. So what is on Sunday? Fix? Are you going on Fix tonight?
Yeah.
Tonight.
I think isn't there some Arm Wars matches getting released too? Ryan Bowen's left arm or whatever.
It got released yesterday, I think.
It did. I have a hard time keeping up with that stuff. I never know the announcements.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to go look at that. But yeah, we got the Fix.
Thanks for the super chat, Wade. And Paul, I think it was an amazing conversation today. It was slightly different than the other conversations that we have had so far. I really enjoyed it.
Saturday, and I watched the boxing match. I've been drinking a little bit, probably.
I really enjoyed the conversation today. Thank you very much, brother. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Hey, and guys, make sure you subscribe, please.
To Paul Lynn.
Let's grow this arm wrestling news thing. And let's also motivate this guy. We want to see the transformation.
And we want to see Paul get to 20,000 subscribers soon.
One day. A couple years from now.
Thanks, bro. When this video is available,